Hey, what's going on everybody? Cruz here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to discuss kind of a hot topic, compression and overdrive. Let's get it. Back in the day when I was first getting into guitar work, though people utilize compression for all sorts of things, for the most part as a guitarist, it wasn't something you welcomed into your rig or incorporated into your everyday sound. And when you did, it was really for clean, pristine types of tones. But as soon as you threw overdrive on, off came the compressor. That was the rule of thumb. That was the rule that we had to follow as guitarists. But no one really explained that thoroughly to me as a guitarist. In fact, I didn't really know what compression was when I first got started. So I added compression to everything because it sort of controlled saturation to my ear. As I got more mature as a guitarist and realized what I was doing and what compression was doing to my sound, I actually embraced it. And the more and more I embraced it, the more and more I learned how compression could be a good thing when utilized correctly. By the time you are hearing and watching this video, the vocal that you're hearing, the guitar that you're going to hear me play through in a little bit, is being compressed naturally through your phone or your speakers at home, and YouTube compression. All of this stuff gets added on. But when you realize that compression could be something you could control in the beginning and help cultivate a sound, it definitely can help. This topic stemmed from a bunch of comments that I've gotten over the years as I've talked about how I personally set up my tone and how I like to incorporate compression with overdrive. And for the most part, they're kind comments, people actually asking how they should incorporate compression with overdrive, what compressor they should use, and also where should they place the compressor in their rig. Then every once in a while I get a comment like this one, which basically says, you should never use compression in overdrive. That's a rule breaker. Don't do that. Some of you may not know this, but I've been a musician for over 25 years. I've played the guitar for over 20 years at this point. And one thing that I can admit is that I never really followed the rules of the music industry or even how to play an instrument. I always found a way to break the traditional rules to create tones and textures in the way that I saw fit. And I can honestly say I basically built my career off of breaking the rules. But as the internet and YouTube became more and more of a thing, I started to realize I'm not the only one who breaks these rules. Tons of us do. So without further ado, let's jump right into this thing. I'm going to use my T-style guitar. I'm going to actually choose some random overdrives that I have here in the studio and one of the most inexpensive compressors that I can get my hands on to show you that this method can be utilized regardless of how much you spend on a compressor. Then I'm even going to show you my personal tones and how I use some of the more expensive gear that I have on my pedal board, such as the Jackson Audio Bloom, to help cultivate the sound that I use so that we could hear just how versatile and how usable these tones could be despite what we were fed when we were younger as musicians. Let's get it. So there you have it. Those are the tones. For those of you wondering what pedals we use in today's demo, first we use the Ultimate Comp by Donner, going into the Small Speaker Overdrive by Great Eastern Effects, and then going into the Asterius by Iridium Effects. Then on my personal pedal board by my feet, I was using the Bloom compressor, that's version 1, going into the Golden Boy for all of my overdrive tones. The one thing I'm trying to demonstrate is that there is no right way to do things. There are recommended ways, there are ways that a lot of other people do things, but ultimately you should go on your own tone journey to figure out what works for you. Whether you don't want to use compression at all or leave it on all of the time, put it in the beginning of your chain, at the end of your chain, in the middle, it doesn't matter. If it sounds good to you and it helps you achieve the tones that you're looking for, that's all that matters. The way that I use compression, I like it at the beginning of my chain. I basically want it to be the first pedal that my guitar hits when I do turn it on. I'm looking for it to be somewhat subtle to the ear, but more something I feel. I want those notes to ring out longer. I want the frequencies to sort of normalize a little bit. And ultimately, I want it to help cultivate this, the sound that I'm trying to achieve. Now, people think once you turn on overdrives that it's going to oversaturate it, but I think what I was able to show you was that it did the opposite. It kind of tightens the overdrive. If anything, kind of brings the gain down slightly and in a compressed way, ultimately allowing the guitar to be a little bit more in the forefront. So in other words, to that one comment who asked, I don't agree with it that it will muddy up the sound. However, if you have really high gain and you dime the compressor, or you have a compressor that doesn't react well to high gain, then yeah, you could probably get really bad tones according to your own ear. But how would you know? Don't take my word for it, or even some random person's comment on the internet's word for it. Try it for yourself, check it out, listen to these sounds, see how they make you feel, see how they react with your guitar going into your rig, and ultimately come up with your own conclusion of whether or not you like compression and overdrive together. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you want to see others like it, be sure to click on some of the videos that are popping up alongside of me. Thanks so much for watching, and until next week.